Okay, wait. Okay, calm down. Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to my podcast, I guess. I decided to do this because I've been wanting to do a podcast for a while. If y'all have seen videos, I think I did in my previous job. Some sort of podcast situation. That's the kind of thing that I started off with. That's what people kind of relate to me a lot about when they meet me. Then they tell me like, oh, I watched like your videos talking about this. So I decided, okay lah, then I just do something on my own now. Sorry, this might be slightly awkward because it's my first time ever doing this and there's like a bunch of people behind the camera, so it's quite stressful. But I'll try my best. So the reason why I wanted to start this on my own, it's mainly because I like to talk about certain things not on the internet. I like to talk about certain topics. I feel like I have my own experiences to share, and since I've already been doing it, I thought why not continue it. But also I feel that I think genuinely having conversations and talking to people, or maybe like whatever experience I have could help some of you guys, maybe add a bit of value to your life. I don't know whether it adds value or not. If it doesn't, then like, okay, sorry, but like, if it does, I think that's just something that would make me feel happy and that I can contribute in that sense. I don't know why I feel that people need to hear my opinion, but a lot of people DM me sometimes to ask me my thoughts about certain things. I don't know why sometimes people share with me their problems, like I'm like agony of the internet for some reason. Then they'll share with me like this whole long story about something happened to them, and then I feel, not that I feel obliged to reply, but I feel like I'm more than happy sharing how I feel I can help. But don't take any of this so seriously. Please do not, okay? I'm not a therapist, nor am I a professional expert. Everybody nowadays has their own podcast, so I don't know what makes me any different. But if you'd like to listen, then please enjoy. And with that, I will start today's episode. And it's going to be a trauma dumping one. So today, we are going to talk about why I don't want kids. But it has to do a little bit with my childhood growing up, and I'll go more in depth later. But for some context, at one point in my life, I think I actually didn't mind having kids. It wasn't like, I want children. Like, I die need to have a kid in my life. It was more of like okay, if my partner wants, then I'll be fine with it. Or if I get married, it's like the whole typical Singaporean route, right? Like you graduate from uni, you find a partner, you get married, you BTO, what's next? Okay lah, have kids or have children or, which I guess with a lot of people around my age now, they tend to have this mindset. It's not a bad thing, but I did have that at one point in my life lah. So I was open to it, but I think there are some certain events in my life that happened that made me like rethink this entire situation. And I think if you guys are surrounded with people who have this kind of mindset, like, the very traditional Singaporean mindset, and maybe you feel a little bit out of place, or you feel like, I don't know if that's really for me. I don't even know if I can find like a partner that I feel be suitable enough to have kids with, then don't worry, you can listen, okay? Because like I also feel the same. I can relate to you. So some backstory: at one point in my life, I was in a long-term relationship, and at that point, I think I was about to do that whole routine of getting a house and stuff. I even got like a BTO number and everything. But I think I was 26, and then I just felt that my career was taking off at that point in time. And when my career took off, it was more so in the social media content creation scene, and that was quite new for me at that time. But I didn't realize how much work it was to actively manage like multiple platforms, do organic content like regularly on a daily, not just for a company but for myself, like at the same time. So because I had a lot of additional responsibilities, I felt that I don't know if I was ready to settle down at that time, because maybe prior to my career taking off, I thought, okay, this probably is the next step, like after being in this job for like 5 years, then I can go and get a family, and then I can move on to another job. I don't know, like the standard route. Yeah, but because this part of my life took off, then I really felt I spent a lot of time focusing on that, and I didn't know if I had enough time to focus like hardcore on a relationship, and let alone think about wanting kids lah. So that started my train of thought, and eventually led to one of the reasons why I ended my relationship also, because I just felt like our goals were very different. Doesn't mean I don't love the person, I just feel that it was something that wasn't aligned, and I didn't want to end up making someone unhappy because of these dreams that I had, or these goals that I had lah. Okay, so if at that point in time I decided to get married, maybe settle down, I would have been like my age currently that I am now. And then at this age I'm like, I'm gonna have kids now. I'm like, if I thought about it, I was like, oh my god, I don't think I am ready yet. Like to have that responsibility at such a young age. Really props to the people who have kids like around, their 30s, like early 30s or even like late 20s, right? Like, damn, that's a lot of responsibility to have in your life. But of course, if you're ready for it, go for it. It's just that at that moment, I was like, oh, I really don't think I'm ready for this. And having that very casual mindset that I was like, yeah, I'll go along with the flow. It's the next step. Sure. I felt that might not have been the best step for me. And I was glad that I took a step back and realized that, oh, this was something I had to think about a little bit more. It's not something I could just like, oh, okay, just bring a child into this world and be like, yeah, everything will sort itself out, like go with the flow. like it's not gonna work that way, though. You can just go with the flow with an additional human being added into the existence of this world. Yeah, so that, and then I think a little bit more of backstory about my childhood. So because I ended up thinking a lot more about whether I wanted kids or not. Then I thought about how my childhood was like growing up, and I realized I have a lot of PTSD from that. And it's not to say that my parents didn't care about me or didn't love me or anything, but I felt that maybe it was not what I needed when I was growing up, and I perceived a lot of their love very differently. I literally just watched a podcast on the way to the office, right? And I was like, someone talked about how all these things happen in your life when you're young, and maybe to the people around you it's okay. Like maybe to my parents it was okay for them, because I perceived it very different from how they did. They didn't realize how their actions affected me, and to them maybe it was a big deal, but for me it was like, oh, I kept getting like little things would make me like upset about the things that they did lah. So I wouldn't go into like too much detail because I don't want my entire family history to be explained on the internet, but I'll give some context to it. So when I was 12, my parents divorced, and I think in Singapore nowadays it's not uncommon to have divorced parents, but I think when I was 12, at that point in time, that was like quite a number of years ago, it was quite uncommon. I think when I was much younger, or at least my friends didn't talk about it, so I didn't really have anyone around me that I could share the struggles with, because they may not relate to it. And one of the things that happened during the divorce is that, because it wasn't a very amicable one, so my parents aren't like on talking terms with each other or anything, and there's nothing wrong with that, but it led to a lot of responsibility being placed on the children of the family to settle things. Whether they intentionally felt it was that way or not, I think we felt that it was that way, and by we it's like me and my two other sisters lah. And I'm the oldest, so I felt like I had to shoulder a lot of the responsibility, and I had to really be the one to, if there's any, for example, if I wanted to do something, I had to be one to initiate it. I had to be the one to break all the rules. I had to be the one to set the benchmark so that my sisters kind of follow along. And of course, when I was very young, I was very like angry all the time, and I was like, I want this, I want that, and blah blah blah, but why you don't listen to me? Yeah, very dramatic. But I felt that maybe because of the fact that they didn't listen to certain things that I said, that I ended up reacting out a lot this way. One of the things that I think tends to be a concern with kids of divorced parents is that like communication between the parents, like if they don't communicate, you end up having to communicate on behalf of them. And I felt that I did that a lot. So for example, it could be like, oh, you tell your so-and-so, like one of the parents would be like, you tell the other parent that I can't make it like this week to like pick you guys up, when technically that's their responsibility to liaise with themselves, right? And at the start they did, but moving down the line as we got older, I think they transferred that responsibility to us, because they were like, oh, you're older, you can just like pass the message, I don't need to do that anymore. And then we felt like, oh, now we are the burden, like we have to tell the other party. And then what if the other party is not just like, oh, okay, they're like, no, you go and tell the person back. Then you end up being like in the middle of this like back and forth argument where like you are bearing the burden of the argument and not them. So that was like constantly a struggle that I think we all faced. And I think my sisters faced it a lot worse than me, because I was at the age where I was like rebellious child. I don't want to be home. I want to go out all the time. And I felt I didn't want to be involved in my family, because I felt that it was a very negative space. So I hung out a lot with my friends outside of school, etc. And so maybe my sisters kind of like had to deal with that a lot more. Yeah, which I feel bad for them. But yeah, we talked about it. It's okay. And I think another issue that being in between could lead to is like, discussions about important issues, right? Like money, for example. And I think this led me to being somewhat not really a very calculative person. It's like on two spectrums. I could be like super calculative, but I could also be super giving, because I feel that when growing up, maybe my parents weren't super generous with, funding us with things that we wanted, or like it was maybe not a necessity to them, like things that we want for fun, like, oh, I really want like this new top, or like this new bag that's not super expensive, but you just want it as like a treat to yourself, and you're like, oh, I don't have money because I'm like 16 and I'm not working, I'm in school, but maybe my parents would be like, oh, ask the other person for money, or I give this amount of money, you should just like ask like so and so for it, rather than me asking one parent and they'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. They always bring in like the aspect of like, oh, you should ask like the other parent, instead of being just generous out of like their own goodwill. And of course, I'm not asking for a car or anything, okay? Like, I think when you're very young, under 16, you want like small things to enjoy, right? Like, I know they provided me like the necessities, like food, house, like I have education, I should be like grateful. Of course I am grateful, but there's certain things that you just wish like they would give you, because like they want you to be happy, or they want to treat you in a certain way. But because they seem to be very calculative about it, and not giving it to me, not because I don't deserve it, but because the other party wouldn't want to give in to me, then I felt like, why is this my problem? You know what I mean? I just want something cute, like a new top. But like, no, it became a whole bigger picture of how like this person doesn't want to give, I give you this amount, so that you shouldn't like ask me about this anymore. Yeah, then I became very like upset about it. So I ended up, I've worked since I was like 16. So after I graduated from O-levels, I worked during my holidays. Like after JC, I worked during my holidays also. Like through uni, I also worked. Yes, I had an allowance and everything, which I'm also very thankful for, that I have the money, but to buy things that were not necessities it's always going to be an argument. So I just earn money so that I know if I ever wanted to do something, I had to do it for myself, which made me a lot more independent in that sense, that I didn't have to rely on them for the money. And I think one thing also that kind of irked me was that it can be a very superficial thing to say or sound, don't take it the wrong way, but it's like, if you see your parents, like, they're not well-to-do. They are middle class or even upper middle class. You live in a nice home and everything, but it's so difficult to even ask for like $10. I felt like when I was young, like when I was under 18 and stuff, I felt like, wow, is it so hard to just ask for this amount? It's not that they cannot afford it. Like, why is it like they don't even want to spend this amount on me? Then I feel like very unworthy of being their child, or I'm a burden to them, that they don't even want to give me this amount of money. And I think it was the same for me and also for my sisters. And I do think they have their reasons for it, and their reasons are completely valid. And maybe they perceived it to be like, y'all have to work hard to earn the money and work hard for yourself. And I agree, we did have to, which I did learn. But I think it's just that lack of like care because of these like small actions. And to them, maybe they cared about me in other ways, but maybe this action to me, I perceived it to be very like, oh, like I was a burden to them, that I didn't deserve this amount. This factor made me realize that sometimes parents can be like very selfish for their own intentions, whatever valid reasons they may have. As a child, they may think that this is the best thing for you, but as a child, when you perceive it, you're like, but I just want to be shown a little bit of love and concern. And maybe to them, their love and concern, the way they show it, is very different from what I expected. So that's why it led to a bit of a misalignment in that sense. Yeah, I think when every time you bring up something you're concerned about to like a parent figure, and then it always leads to an argument, and then they somehow never listen to your point of view, then you just end up getting very defensive. And then I also in the future just ended up deciding like, you know what, forget it, I'll just deal with it myself. And that led to a lot of independence in a say, like where I would just not ask for help from my parents or like my family, because I'll just settle it myself. And I think for people in Singapore, when you think about independence like that, sometimes people will be like, wow, that's such a good thing, because my parents care too much, and they're like always asking me like, where I am, like what time I'm coming home, like where you go tonight, why you never like why you come home so late and stuff. And that is also very overbearing sometimes. So that's really two ends of the spectrum, right? And if you come from a family where you have like a tiger mom or like a tiger parent, like you would think this is like a blessing to a certain extent. And I did think about that growing up when definitely at the age when I was like 18 to like 20 plus, when I was like, oh, party face, like whatever, I can do whatever I want. And my parents genuinely like don't care. And like don't come home for 2 days and there'll be no questions asked about my whereabouts. But also I think because my mom really saw me as a very, very responsible person, which I tried my best to be. And I think I grew up at a very young age. So like she saw that I would be very responsible, and she trusted that I wouldn't do anything that's very mischievous, like, my username. But I think because of that, it led to it being very like a very hands-off approach. And I think that it has its good points, but some days I just wish like she would ask me like where you go. It's just like the small act of like concern, even though she's probably not concerned about me, because she's like, I trust you, you'll be fine. But I'm like, why can't you just ask me where I am? And even small things like, when I come home and then there's no dinner, and then it's my responsibility to find dinner, sure, but she's at home, then she's like, oh, you never say you're coming home for dinner. I'm like, you never asked me if I'm coming home for dinner, So just things like that, where I wish there was a little bit more of like is it empathy or like care. It would be a little bit more outward towards me rather than just expecting that I can handle everything by myself lah. Because as a parent, I feel that wouldn't you want to show your child that you are concerned about them, or do you not care about them at all? No matter how responsible they are, even if they're living in another country, wouldn't you be like concerned about what they're doing with their lives, even though they're like 30 plus? Wouldn't you want to know like what's going on in their lives? Yeah, so because of that too much independence, I felt that there was this lack of like wanting to know about what's going on in my life, wanting to care about like whether I was okay or not. Maybe it was because there was a lot of trust in the relationship, sure. But yeah, I just wish there was a little bit more of that. I mean, I live with my mom, so for some context. But I think my dad is someone who, the money thing was a big thing with him, but like, let's just not talk about that. And he knows this. I always tell him, I'm like, you always said that. Yeah, so, and my dad watches my videos, so yeah, he does. So I'm like, hi, no offense. Don't take anything the wrong way. We've already discussed this since we grew up, so yeah. But I think in recent years, my dad, one thing that he really does is he tries to like, even though we don't go often over to his house or anything, he'll try to ask me like how I am. He will arrange for like dinners together and stuff. Yeah, so each parent has like their flaw in a way, but I don't fault them for that. It's just like that's the background of how they grew up, right? And that's how probably their parents treated them, and that's how they came up with these like whole concepts of how they should treat us. So I cannot really fault them for that, nor can I fault my grandparents for that. Yeah, but this leads me to my point about like why I don't want kids, because like this kind of childhood backstory made me really think about, am I selfless enough to have children? Because I think one of the main sacrifices a parent has to make for a child is to really be quite selfless for them and to prioritize like the kid in their very formative years. I think until like 18, it's quite important to be present in their lives, and also not just present like being there and supporting by giving the basic necessities. I think it's also to understand like that each child is very different, and like you cannot just treat them the way that you think is right. Yes, you may love them in your own way, but maybe that love for them is not what they really needed, and maybe they would want to receive love in a different way. Yeah, and sometimes if parents cannot adapt to that, then it's going to be very difficult to build a relationship with your kid lah. And I am very grateful that I have good relationships with my parents now. It's because I'm matured and I decided like whatever, I'm just not gonna focus on this trauma that happened in my life. Let's just treat my parents as friends, okay? We'll just be like chingus, okay? Like maybe not the most parental figure, but at least like we can be friends. Yeah. And I think one thing about prioritizing your kid is that you really have to give up different aspects of life, and that also means like giving up maybe time spent with like your partner, time spent on your social life, time spent on your dreams and your goals. And I think this is quite a normal thing to do, because when I speak to friends who are mothers or people I meet who are parents, they really say like when they are very young, like at least under 5 years old, like your life is literally just your kid, and you go home after work just to take care of your kid. There are many people who tell me that like, yeah, they sleep early or they wake up super early because their kid wakes up super early and stuff. And I don't know if I could do that, because that means sacrificing a lot of my personal time. And while I'm working, I also really need a lot of time to myself to recuperate from all the work that I've done. I think like spending time with your partner is also very important. But I think my parents, because my parents divorced when I was very young, they also like got remarried and like got new partners like when I was at a very young age. And I saw, or I felt at least, that they spent a lot of time with their partners, and maybe they didn't focus a lot of that on me and my sisters. And then it just felt a bit like, oh, I guess we're not as important as like your other half at certain points in our life. And I think till now, they do spend a lot of time with their partners. Maybe I wish that that time could be more spent with us, or like at least trying to get to know like how we are in life, you know, not just assuming everything is fine just because we don't outwardly say anything. I think it's about the fact that like, you know, you should take initiative as a parent to ask how you're doing, right? Rather than like wait for the child to come and tell you like there's a problem. By the time you wait, right, that's like too late already, because like as a child, like how difficult is it to like go and ask a parent and tell a parent that like, hey, I'm not okay with like what you're doing to me. Like that's gonna be such a difficult conversation to have, especially if you're 16. Like I couldn't imagine doing that. I'll just be like, I'll just ignore my fucking problems, like whatever, like you just go away after a while. Like that's the way we escape from problems when you're young, right? Yeah, so I feel like that responsibility to initiate a conversation is very important. And sometimes if they're too focused on other people in their life, then there's that lack of like emotional like building, right? Yeah, so that is one thing I feel. And me as a person now, I know that this is like the start of something that I really, really want to grow into something bigger. I know I want to have like a company maybe in the future. I want to start a business in the future. Obviously, I can't be a YouTuber for the rest of my life. Like, who's going to listen to me when I'm 60 years old? Okay, you never know, but like still. I'm just doing it now because it's fun, but I have a lot of worries about my future. Like I said, money is always a concern to me. And I think if I really want to focus my time and my energy and invest in my future, right, then where is the time to make a baby and like birth this into the world? Literally, like after 6 p.m, you will spend your entire time and night focusing on them, and then you'll be so tired and drained from that whole like experience or like interaction with your child that I don't even know if you have time to like focus on growing something bigger. And to the people who do, y'all are mad. Y'all like slay, okay? I could never. I know myself. I'm someone who needs to like just nua after like being drained for hours. I just want to play mindless games on my computer, or like do stupid things like watch YouTube videos for hours, or watch TikTok for like 2 hours and just like scroll, or make like stupid TikTok content, you know what I mean? Thankfully making stupid TikTok content is part of my career now. But like that aside, if I take away all these priorities, like I cannot travel also, you know? Like travel is such a big thing, and I think a lot of Singaporeans would be like, yeah, my only like way of like escaping this like work life is to travel. And if you have a kid, you don't have the luxury of doing that. And I literally just spoke to a mom like one day ago, and I asked her like, how is it having kids? So she's my age, and then she has a kid that's like 2 years old now, and she was like, she didn't plan on having a kids, but she had to go through with it, right? And she's like dealing with it as it comes now. And she was saying like, I don't have the luxury of having like many date nights, so I have to be picky about whether I want to go and watch this movie or not. I'm like, wow, watch movie was so difficult. So having that in mind, I also think that like I don't even prioritize my friends sometimes, okay? So social life is quite a big thing for me. There's a whole triangle of like social life, and I work, and then like sleep. I feel like my sleep is usually like 4 hours. So I spend a lot of time on my social life and my work. And then because that is so important to me, I have a lot of friends from many different areas of my life, because I have many different interests in my life. I have like gaming friends, dance friends, school friends, uni friends, like work friends also, you know. I love spending time with them. I love having conversations with them. I love meeting them one-on-one, and that takes up a lot of like my days. I don't even think sometimes I'm a good friend, because I feel like a lot of times I'm very thankful that my friends reach out to me first, and they'll be like, hey, why you so busy, like faster reply me leh, like when are we going to meet and eat and stuff like that. And I'm very, very thankful that they don't get sick of asking me these questions. So when I meet them, I always try my best to be like fully focused in this conversation and not think about other things, you know. Also spending time with my partner, for example, you know, that also takes up a lot of time. And like, if I can't even be like a good enough friend to initiate like meetups and hang out with them, like what makes me think like I'm going to be a good enough like parent to be able to commit to like all these hours with my child without wanting to be selfish and be like, I just want one day for myself, or I just want like these days for myself. I don't have time to like deal with you being a child, like go away, and I know it's a shared responsibility between you and your partner and stuff, so definitely there'll be days where you can take off days and stuff like that, but I always feel like, I feel the responsibility that I need to do it, I'm someone who already has like high key commitment issues already, okay? If I have a kid, that's a commitment for life, until like you're like, it's like another 40 years of my life I need to commit to this one person, and I make sure that they are grown up well, like they have no issues, I help them settle their problems lah, they got money lah, and not to say that time management for me is like terrible or anything, but and I completely understand if like you're a parent and you have kids, like the time spent with kids is very important for you, and to you that is a valuable use of your time. I completely understand that, but as of now, as a person now with all these like goals and things I want to do, and I'm like, okay, I have all these things I haven't done in my life yet, I don't know if that would be valuable time to me. Yeah, maybe it's just my stage of life growing up, but for people who I know are people who are like just family oriented, like their goal in life is to have a family. I have friends like that, right? Like by all means, I think this is definitely something that you should do, and whatever I'm saying in this entire video is completely not related to you at all, okay? This is more related to the people who may be struggling with this sense of like prioritizing yourself or like prioritizing the need for a family lah. The next thing is also like in Singapore it's so fucking expensive to have children. I think this is one of the main key things that a lot of people tell me, like why they don't want kids also. It's because like it's so expensive. I think maybe specifically in Singapore to have kids, I think a lot of that cost that you spend on your kids, like sure, the education is free or whatever, but like just food, housing, like even transport, like if you don't have a car, how are you going to bring your kids around, like just sending them to school, like things like that, like a lot of like little costs will add up, right? And all this money that you have to set aside for your kid is money that you cannot spend on yourself. And thinking about it, like I don't know if I'm a very selfish person, but I do think I'm quite career oriented, and I'm someone who is very like focused on like growing myself as a person, that like all this money that could be spent on a potential new human, I will be like, but what if I want to spend it on myself? I'm someone who likes to spend money on like clothes and all these like very superficial things because it brings me joy to a certain extent. I know it's not the best thing to be spending your money on or whatever, but then to each their own, you know what I mean? Everybody has their vices. Probably my parents had the same mindset also lah. Maybe that's why they perceived it to be like, you have to earn your own money, you're like adult now, or like not you're adult, but like you're grown up, you can go and work a part-time job or anything, you go and earn your own money for yourself, because like all this money is my money and I should be spending it on myself. Yeah, but because I had that experience growing up, I feel like I would want to be giving to my child, because I wouldn't want them to not suffer, but like go through that and learn it like the hard way to a certain extent, because I know it was not easy for me, because I wanted to do so many things but I couldn't do it because I had to have arguments about money, and I wouldn't want them to have to go through that with me. I don't want to argue them about that with me. But what if like I'm not in a stable job in the future and I really cannot afford that for them? I think about it and I'm like, okay, maybe if I'm really, really rich in a point of my life where I don't need to be super focused on my career, what if I've achieved all my career goals already and I'm like 40 plus and I'm like, okay, now I'm a millionaire, maybe I can have a child, because maybe at this point I've accomplished all the things I really wanted to do in life, that I can really think about settling down and invest all this money that I've earned into a person and not resent them for it. I don't want to end up resenting my child because I'm like, I give all this money to you and you don't even appreciate me. Like, cannot, why? Because you bring this person into the world, right? Like, you owe them that responsibility, It's like, they didn't choose to be here, right? To a certain extent. I feel like that argument, to me, is quite valid. To some people, it may not be valid, but to me, it's quite valid, because I'm like, they didn't choose to be here, so why are you making them like go through all this, even though it's like the right of path? But yeah, I will want to be giving to a certain extent. When I see news articles or when I see moms in public, then the baby's just non-stop crying, and I'm just watching TikToks of like babies screaming on planes. I'm like, oh my god, I will die of embarrassment. And like my biggest fear is being embarrassed in public, and you think having a kid and embarrassing me in public, I'll be like, you shut up now. I cannot. I'm just like, I'd be so like traumatized by that. But yeah, I definitely know there are a lot of people nowadays who are very focused on their own goals and what they want to accomplish in life, that sometimes having a kid may just not be in their way of progressing as of current. Yeah, but in future I may consider it, probably if I'm rich enough. I think that's my biggest factor. Yeah, like I think something that it's not really it's kind of something that makes me upset when I hear about it, is parents who have kids to fund them in the future. Yeah, I feel that, I don't know if people still have this mindset. I feel like it's a very like a boomer generation mindset. It's like, because now as a child I'm experiencing it, or like other of my friends are experiencing it, where their parents are like, filial piety, you have to like pay this amount for me because, like, you know, it's your responsibility to take care of me and stuff, and they're placing like these huge responsibilities on their kids to take care of them, that like I wouldn't want that to have that for them, you know what I mean? It's such a huge burden to have, and they didn't ask for it, you know. Like, if you have the mindset that, oh, I'm gonna have kids, so like in the future I'm not gonna be lonely, like at least I have someone to take care of me, you know, I don't have to worry about like my finances because my kids will be there, like it's their responsibility to you know, support me when I'm old, like they have to be there for me, then you don't have to worry about it. Then I feel like that's like just not being accountable as a human being, you know? For myself, like, because I know I probably may not have kids, and I don't even want kids to rely on them for that I have to, there are ways to be responsible for yourself and to be accountable for your own actions, right? Like, you know, make sure you have the right health plans, like also like building relationships with people that you trust now, so that these relationships last you till when you're older, so that you don't end up being lonely. I know like anything could happen, but it's just like, if you just take for granted all the people around you that you surround yourself with now, then of course you're gonna be lonely when you're old, because like, why would you want to be around someone who's just too self-centered and doesn't care about the people around them, doesn't make an effort to be around people, you know, that are around them, and they're like, oh, I have kids, it'll be fine, like, cannot lah, you know? So that kind of mindset is something that really like would piss me off if anybody told me that. It would be really sad if I was their kid to know that like they birthed me into the world to be their moral support. Like, no. Yeah, and I don't know, I was watching, you know, TikTok, you have like these movies that you just end up watching, like part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. Then I was like on this roll of watching this movie. It's called My Sister's Keeper. It's not the most accurate representation of an analogy of this situation, but the storyline where the mom gave birth to another child who's younger than her sick child. Her child was like super sick, it's like bone marrow cancer or something like that, like bone cancer, I don't know. And like the youngest child is like, has no right and has to keep donating to her sister, because to them it's like, oh, it's because you love her, then you have to do this, you know what I mean? Like, you don't love your sister, why are you not going to do this for her? Then they are guilt tripped into having to commit to this, being a donor to her sister, even though she like never wanted it, or she's unhappy with it, you know? Like, of course she loves her sister, she wants to do it, but like there's a certain limit to which you can love someone also, right? You cannot just like be like sacrifice your entire life for this one person because this person is sick. Then it's like completely guilt tripping in a sense. Yeah, and then if your parents guilt trip you into being like, why you don't love me, so you don't give me this kind of thing, it's the same mindset to a certain extent, right? I really feel bad for people who have to like deal with that, because I'm sure there are these experiences that exist. And you know, sometimes like when you have that experience, and like it's a very toxic relationship that you have like with your parents, thank God I don't have that, it ends up being very like, you just want to distance yourself from them. And then like there's this quote, it's like they said that parents' one job is to be there to like support your kid when they need, and like many parents fail that aspect because they only see what they as parents need, you know? So to me, it's like I will always have this mentality, like I cannot just like think of what is right for myself, but you got to think about what is right for this person that you are bringing into life lah, in a certain sense, and having a family with. And the last thing, I guess, is also like, you don't have to rush and to conform to what is expected, because I think in Singapore there's this like whole expectation of like, oh, what's next, you know, the next stage in life is to have kids after you get married, and like you have a house, so what am I gonna do with this 5-room BTO? Like, I have an extra room here, what is this for? My child? If you're not ready and you're just like, just have it for the sake of having it, lor, then this is the right thing to do. Like, if you never think through it, like there'll be a lot of different kind of consequences and like outcomes that you may not expect, you know? That's why I really had to think about it first before I even wanted to do it. Because to me, the mindset, that very casual mindset, wasn't something that I probably could deal with in the long run. If I know I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have thought so casually about this, I should have really thought through every single option and think about whether I'm really suitable as a person to have a child lah, because I may not be like the most sane person to have a child also, you know? So what if like all this like instability like is transferred to them like unknowingly, right? I feel that if you are having this fear of like, oh, everyone around me is having kids, like, should I just have kids too? Think about it first, of course. And it's really okay not to conform. I think we're in the age where it's really like okay to not follow this route that has been planned for us or has been instilled in our mindset since we were like in primary school growing up, and we see all this happen. Maybe like in the parents' generation, they really followed through with this, because I feel that life was very different back then also. Now there's a lot more focus on like your own mental health, your own well-being, your own growth and goals, that like it's okay to not want to focus on someone else for now. Yeah, and maybe when you're ready, then I think it's okay to start, being a parent. Because like if you bring someone to this world and you're not a good parent, that you're gonna have to deal with that forever. And I think that's worse than like not having someone. I mean, I would rather not have that and like than to deal with like trauma for the rest of my life, or deal with my kids' trauma for the rest of my life. Also, at the end of the day, I may not be the best child out there. I complain about all these things like blah blah blah, all these things like give me trauma, and I'm like oh I'm so like scared about all these things. I may not be the best person either, because I have my own issues. I have my own flaws. Like I mentioned, I could be potentially very selfish and very calculated. I also think I'm quite uptight sometimes. Like I a bit follow by the rules kind of person, even though I don't look like it. Like I know I got like tattoo everything, and then you think like I very like wow, like wild or whatever, but I'm really not. What if like I just end up being too uptight with my child, and then I'm like overbearing, over controlling to them also. And I know it's a lot of what ifs, and I think a lot of parents like who are young now will be like, you cannot have this mindset like that you're worrying about things that haven't happened yet. Sure, that is completely fair, of course, but I think I know myself well enough, then I am self-aware enough that I would like to work on these things for myself first before, unintentionally affecting my kids or potential kids in the future. Because I think my parents unintentionally did that to me, so I wouldn't want to do the same. So yeah, I hope you guys will not think I'm a crazy person, nor do you think that I am I don't want to come off as I am very spoiled or like I'm very privileged. I know I am privileged, and I've grown up in a very privileged environment, but I think there are problems. If you are a child and you face problems, no matter how privileged you are, it's still a problem, right? It's not just about like how much you earn or your upbringing. Of course, people have worse things in life like to deal with, but yeah, that's just my thoughts, and hopefully it helped someone out there. And if you have any issues or your concerns, or you are struggling with this too, like leave in the comments. I will read the comments because I'm a very nosy person. I read all my comments, even though I look like I don't read my comments, but I'll read all my comments. And in disclaimer, this video is in no way telling you to not have kids in your life. If it's your goal, go ahead. But it's just to give a different perspective, and to also share a little bit more about my life. And I don't know why I would want to be so vulnerable on the internet, but I feel that it can be quite helpful to have these conversations, especially because if the majority of the mindset is to go this like traditional route, how about I share with you why I don't want to go on this traditional route? And there's a lot of other things that I would like to share on this podcast series. I don't have a name for it. If you all have a name for it, you can leave it in the comments below also, okay? But there's a lot of things that may be a little bit more unconventional that I would like to share about, things that I mean, like simple things that are very unconventional, which is like having so many tattoos as a goal. Like that is something very simple already that could be a topic that I would like to talk about. But more things like that. And if y'all have any suggestions, let me know too, because I would like to hear what you have to say. And I hope this was entertaining. I hope I didn't ramble on for no reason for this entire video, but you will see more of these videos in the future. That will be all. I think I can end the video now. Okay, I'll see y'all next time. Bye.